Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We've got some stuff tonight. We've got some rumors abound. There's going to be some type of military action. People wondering how significant. Speculation. People now hyping it up to be this huge thing. They say it's going to be another major Middle East excursion. I don't think so. I think Trump wants another quick operation, but I guess we'll see. So there's going to be something that happens soon. Yes, the State of the Union is upcoming for Trump. They do it in every February. I think it's the 24th, so next Tuesday. I think it's next Tuesday is the State of the Union. So, yeah, probably I probably should stream that. Yeah, I saw some of the Trump ballroom things. I'm looking for better renderings on the Trump ballroom. I need perspective of how big the ballroom is in relative to the White House. They really haven't shown many recent renderings like that. Yeah, I don't know about the Rhode Island shooting. I was trying to search for it. The X search thing is completely fucked up. Seriously, do you guys ever on your phones on the iPhone just try use the search function? You can't use it. It shows you stuff from like 3 years ago. The search function on desktop is also terrible as well, and it's very irritating. I tried searching something and it just wouldn't even. I couldn't get anything. It's very annoying. James O'Keefe video. I haven't seen the James O'Keefe video. The shutdown. I don't even know if it's going on. I don't care. I saw that Zelensky went back on Piers Morgan. I mean, isn't it played out at this point? People are just really fatigued by that. I mean, it's really sad what's happened, but people are fatigued. You hope they don't make the White House ballroom bigger than the actual White House in proximity. Yeah, what I saw the photos. I think they're building it into the ground. Maybe they said the roof of it is not going to usurp the White House roof, so it's going to be the same size. They're keeping it the exact same, like the height of it, because I think based on the ground already technically sinks along the east wing, the eastern side or whatever. So they can build it into the ground, and they're going to build the ballroom into the ground, and it's going to be the exact same height. The roof of it, the top of the roof, is going to be the same height, and I mean that would be bad if it was taller, but it does look kind of weird. I mean, is America going to overthrow the Ayatollah? Yeah, what's happening here is go back a month ago when everything was coming out about Iran and how their regime was shooting the protesters, and Vance said to Trump, "You need to strike them." Well, Trump was going to strike them, but his own military said that they couldn't guarantee a regime change with just one or two strikes or whatever they were going to do. When it comes to Trump and Middle East activity, these people, I see people saying, well, there's going to be this massive involvement and it's going to take months. That's not how Trump operates. If you understand Trump's tendencies, you would know it's going to be something that happens very quickly. And I think there would be a lot of local involvement versus U.S. troop involvement when it comes to replacing that regime. So I think would be enemies of the Iranian current regime that would really be the ones to do it. They would get power from the United States striking areas. I think Trump has extreme confidence because of the Maduro raid. But they were going to do something a month ago, and Trump said, well, I can't guarantee, they couldn't guarantee Trump that this was going to cause the regime change. So now they've got a bunch of stuff out there. Now you've got Khamenei basically taunting Trump, which is not going to end well because Trump listens to that type of stuff and he's going to respond. It's not going to end well for Khamenei. And this all has to happen very quickly because of the midterms. They want this in the past by the summer. They want it in the rearview mirror, kind of like the strikes were in the rearview mirror last summer by the fall. So I think the timeline is they need to do some type of, if they're going to do military action, it needs to happen within the next few weeks. And that's what everyone is saying based on the armament that they have and the aircraft carriers and the positioning. I mean, all of this can be telegraphed. It just depends on the exact day. I mean, that's what people don't know is the exact day. So some type of act, unless there's some crazy. I mean, apparently they're trying to negotiate with Iran. It's not going well. I don't even know what they're negotiating at this point. I mean, it feels like Iran wouldn't even want to negotiate with the United States after last year. Yeah, I don't know. What about the Nick Flint? What about the what happened with Rhode Island? I don't know what happened. I tried looking it up. I couldn't find it because the search thing is so messed up. Are you gonna run for office one day? No, not in anything prominent. Wouldn't the U.S. just shit on Iran easily? There wouldn't be a war. There's not going to be a war. It's all this media hype, and really, it's just negativity against Trump when people say it's going to be a war. There's not going to be a war. That's not how Trump operates with these geopolitical maneuvers. He does not. It's not a prolonged military event. It never is with Trump. If you understand Trump, that's one of the things that he really campaigned against when he ran in 2016 was no involvement or limited involvement. And we've seen whether it's Maduro, whether it's Iran last year, it's he will do a military action and be aggressive, but it will be limited in total scale and also time. You're not going to keep troops. You're not going to deploy troops to the Middle East. It's ridiculous. That's not what Trump. And that would just be a horrible thing for Trump in general. Trying to explain that away to the American people, they're not. They're not even close to ready for something like that with Iran because the justification is not there. There's not enough Americans that view Iran as a big enough threat. A lot of people think it's appeasement to Israel, and the hope is that well, this is over quickly, and they use the angle of the nuclear bomb, and you kind of justify military force because you don't want them to achieve becoming nuclear. At this point, I don't know. I mean, it depends what they actually eliminated in terms of those the enrichment sites and the centrifuges. They said they got a lot of them, but apparently they're still enriching. Iran is at other sites. But that was a huge hit to their nuclear program. If they apparently bombed pretty much all of their conversion centers, which is I mean that's like the number one thing you need in terms of making a nuclear bomb. If they got rid of those, I mean they're gonna have to rebuild all that. Do you like Guinness? Uh, I never really had much beer. I guess I would like I don't even remember the beer that I didn't really ever drink beer, but a few times Corona was decent. I'm not a big fan of it. Oh, that shooting, the Rhode Island shooting with the trans dude at the hockey game. Yeah, I heard about that. That was from yesterday. You like the Understanding series? I don't even know if I'd call it a series, but yeah, I mean, really, that just started with the video about the Nazi architecture. But yeah, those videos actually really the videos they're kind of a view pit, but they're really fun for me to make. But I want to do one on the Nazi war machine. I don't know if it would be understanding. It's more of just like a video about the way the Nazis built up their armament so quickly, in the span of 6 years. And I like doing it for the investigation and for knowledge for me to understand it better because really you do a deep dive even if you're just talking about something on a video for 10 or 11 minutes you have to really go in depth because it's a script, so there's really no wasted time when you're talking about something. It's just constant information you're sharing. If I do a video with me in the corner, a lot of it's just like me saying stuff and then pausing and then useless verbiage. But if it's scripted, none of it's useless. It all matters. No, I never had liver. Will the SAVE Act ever get passed? Maybe. They're proposing something. They're going to try and force them to filibuster, I saw. So if they force them to actually physically filibuster for like 12 straight days, I mean, what are the Democrats going to do? That would be cowardice if they actually did that. But maybe if they can get that initiative passed, that would force them to actually be on the floor filibustering. That might help it. I don't know. I mean, obviously they're not going to nuke the filibuster. At least I don't think they will. But this would be something you would do it for, and it would honestly make sense because of the bipartisan support. But these Democrats, they don't want it. It's kind of funny. Did you see Elon saying we shouldn't save for retirement? Yeah, he's been saying a lot of stuff like that. Well, he's been talking about the UBI, saying that's coming in the next few years. He says his robot's going to come, and by 2029, everybody's going to be using robots. I think he likes saying these fantastical things because he sees himself as like this visionary, and he says, well, people don't need to do anything. And, a lot of the time, the future is kind of over embellished, I think. I don't know. Maybe he's right on some of it, but I think a lot of it is just over embellished, and really, we don't have to save. I mean, that's a bit ridiculous. You really think people are going to listen to that, and that's good advice? I mean, I understand you might think that there's going to be these robots, and the quality of life is going to increase for everyone, and they're not going to have to do tasks, I guess. But then there becomes a problem in terms of people finding purposes. I don't know. What's your take on the white woke lady losing yesterday on figure skating? I don't know. I mean, I saw some of the figure skaters. I don't know about that situation though. Have you been buying any gold? No, no, I haven't been buying any gold. Gold is not an investment I would be interested in at this point. I mean, people can buy gold, that's fine, but I'm looking at other investments, not gold. I'm like Cavaliers fan. I'm really not into the NBA much anymore. If you spend $1 million a day, you still wouldn't spend $1 trillion. Yeah, I mean, but Musk is really. I mean, I don't think that the nature of Musk. He's really not going to be a trillionaire. He's a trillionaire through Tesla stock. It's not really. It's not realized. It's unable to be realized. People have a misunderstanding of like net worth and money. Musk can never actually realize mean have an actual $1 million liquid, or excuse me, I should say $1 trillion liquid. He's never going to be able to have $1 trillion liquid because if he starts selling his stock, there's going to be a massive shock loss. All of his money's in Tesla stock, and even Tesla is potentially really overvalued. A lot of its value is based on heavy speculation. I mean, obviously he has a ton of money, but it's also just capitalism and how easy it is to compound. If you understand how easy it is to compound money in capitalism, him having that much money is I mean, if you're at like 100 billion, it's pretty easy to get to a trillion. Side hustle, thank you, I appreciate that. Well, I guess it depends on how big your company grows because it could be hard if your company caps out. But obviously, with Tesla, it doesn't seem like it's happening. And now he's got SpaceX. I mean, SpaceX, I think, is its own stock. I don't think they're merging them. A lot of people don't get that. Yeah, I think people just see it and then they visualize like $1 trillion in a bank account or something. And but even people's net worth, when people talk about their net worth, most of it's just in their house. Like their net worth is basically their home for a lot of people. Their home and their 401k. So, but that's not even something that you really have. I think net worth is kind of ridiculous, honestly. Like total assets, yeah. But if you have a home, you're obviously living in it. You're not going to sell your home tomorrow. So, do you really have that money? I mean, I don't know. I guess. I just thought it's weird how they calculate net worth. You voting for Vivek? No, I'll be voting for Casey Putsch. I'll be voting for Casey Putsch, honestly, but he kind of had a crash out. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but people don't like him now because I guess he's going against Trump. I think he's just kind of doing the thing that Fishback is doing in Florida, where it's kind of like the dissident right winger. But he needs to really not go against Trump, or he's going to get no support. Did Tucker get arrested in Israel? I think that might be fake news. I don't know. I don't really think that's true, but I don't know the full story. I just heard that there was a rumor that he got detained or arrested, and then people said no, it's false. He was just in Israel for a few hours, basically like a flyover thing. Or a layover, I should say. Basically in Israel for a few hours, maybe to meet with Mike Huckabee. But it was only like a few hour meeting, and then it came out that he got detained or something. But then people said it was false. You're fed up with Greg Abbott. Texas is a mess. Too much Democrats taking over. Well, yeah, they're moving in. It's a much better tax situation. Texas has gotten, I hear, some really good apartment costs. Their costs have gone down significantly. So have Florida's. They've been building a lot of apartments there. So you're going to bring in liberals, and unfortunately, the liberals don't really change their politics. But yeah, I mean, Texas is always a concern at some point because of just how big the urban cities are. A lot of liberals in those urban cities. At a certain point, you wonder if they outnumber. The thing with Texas that's kind of been a curveball for Democrats is a lot of the Hispanics are more conservative than they thought. Maybe that'll change. I don't know. Will Iran be able to sink one of our aircraft carriers? No. Now, I highly doubt Iran's going to do much of anything. I mean, think about their reaction last year. It was nothing. And this one, you think about Venezuela's reaction of nothing. I don't really. I think it feels like the U.S. military is kind of untouchable, honestly. And maybe that's arrogance. I don't really see. But based off of what Iran did last year, I think they're very scared of the United States. But this could be different because this could be them attempting a major regime change. Maybe they'll just go, and somebody said maybe they'll just capture Khamenei. I mean, would that just not cut? That would just cut the head off of the snake when it comes to Iran. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's a lot more sophisticated than Venezuela based on the location alone. They're going to do maybe some type of strike instead. And I heard it could be pretty aggressive, although I don't know, man. I guess it kind of has to be aggressive if they want a regime change. Yeah, I saw what Trump said about Nicki Minaj because of the celebration, like they're celebrating Black History Month. Nick Fuentes said he hopes Dems win midterms. Yeah, I saw that. I mean, he has his own little party or what. He's got his own movement. He wants accelerationism. It's not gonna work. That's not gonna work out well with U.S. demographics. If Texas turned blue, there'll never be another Republican president. Well, I mean, technically, it could turn blue and then turn red again in the next election. But yeah, if Texas went blue, it would destroy Republican math. But luckily, we don't have to worry about that based on the margin in 24. We shouldn't have to worry about that in 28 at all. The regime change thing is a smokescreen? I highly doubt it. What else would they be there for? They already basically disabled their nuclear program. If they're striking them, it has to be for regime change. It doesn't really. I mean, maybe I guess they could weaken them significantly without regime change. Maybe Israel would be appeased by that if they weakened them and there wasn't regime. But I mean, there's no other reason for them to be meddling with Iran at this point if they've already taken care of the nuclear sites And you can argue on whether or not they're still enriching. Obviously, they didn't completely destroy their entire nuclear program. They would have to strike a bunch more to do that, but well, the U.S. could be untouchable in the sense of these covert operations that they do against these kind of these third world countries. There's just they just outfox these countries at every turn, and they're so scared to retaliate because then they get U.S. retaliation back on them. It's like the U.S. strikes, then do you retaliate because then you're just going to get more retaliation from the United States. These countries are put in a horrible position. Hey Juan, what's up, man? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I don't know about the praise that they're getting. I mean, obviously, if they're Trump people, the Republicans are going to praise them for their job that they did, but it doesn't really bother me one way or another. You don't think Fuentes is focused on leading a serious movement? Yeah, or he just wants like accelerationism. Basically, he wants the country to be in like the worst place possible, so the country goes really hard right. But for that to happen, a bunch of liberals have to. But the problem is the demographics are going to be so bad. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know if you're going to get enough people to band together to go really far right if like liberals make life complete hell. And then you get some right wing figure that says, I'm going to save the country completely, kind of like Trump said in 2016. I mean, obviously, politics are all about opportunity. If you don't have the opportunity potentially would be created through just liberal mismanagement in terms of like a really far right wing person. You'd have to have like really far left policies that are completely mismanaged, and then the country would turn and go the other way. But I don't know, based on the current demographics, if that's something that can happen. I don't know about Iran in terms of if he's going to take over or not. I mean, the Venezuela situation is kind of in flux. Like, we don't know what their government looks like and how that's going. And I mean, maybe it's another situation that happens in Iran. But Iran, it seems like there could be a clearer path to some type of predecessor or successor. Wild that he claims to be America first while siding with Dems. Yeah, well, they'll just say, "Oh, we're not siding with Dems. We want the country further right wing. Trump is not doing a good enough job. He's too." They say he's too moderate. But this is the common thing you get. You get liberal people saying, well, our leaders are too conservative. You get right wing people saying our leaders are too liberal. This is pretty normal in terms of how politics go with the online spaces, honestly. But I mean, Trump. I mean, this is tough. Whatever they do with Iran, I think based on Trump's tendencies, it's going to happen very quickly. Whatever it is, it's going to be some type of operation, some type of strike. There's not going to be troop deployment like people are saying. It's not going to be a war. I mean, they characterize it as a war. That's done because it looks very negatively at Trump if there's a war in the Middle East, right? But as long as there's not prolonged activity, people are not going to buy the whole idea that it's a war. Like, there actually has to be substance for there to be a war. There can't be singular strikes and then nothing happens and then say, just like last year they called it a war. No, that never really stuck because it just you can't really classify it as a war. There were no U.S. troops harmed. There was no U.S. military installations armed. What would be the plan to hit Iran? Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a QED, I think, quantum entanglement device. Maybe it's another one of those or something. They're gonna shut off their electricity, and then they'll just probably go and target a few of the leaders. I'm not sure exactly. Remember, Israel struck Iran really, really systematically and strategically to where they got the leaders in the specific buildings inside of Iran with strikes. So, I mean, US has significantly superior technology to Iran. There was a far left dictatorship in the US. Yeah, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think there'll ever be a far left dictatorship or anything like that. Um it just seems so unlikely. I mean, the country can go to the left. We'll see with 2028. I mean, I think the country's inherently maybe more center. Liberals will say it's more right wing, but I mean, I guess in comparison to Europe, but Europe is a completely different situation because they have much different demographics than we do. Cause that really trumps everything. That trumps political ideology for sure. Um, but yeah, it's I guess it is more right wing than Europe. There's no question. They have over one third of deployable naval assets there and have been flying F-35s and F-22s, and it's not going to be fast. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess we'll see. I mean, I can't really see Trump participating in a prolonged Middle Eastern military campaign. It seems not worth it. And think about it. Trump a month ago wanted to strike, but the his general said, "Well, we can't assure you that this is going to knock out their regime," so he didn't do it. So why would he have this massively long campaign now that takes months and months? And I don't see him going. That just seems like it would break a lot of tendencies that he's had about these type of geopolitical strikes. Bibi came to America last week to give Trump his orders. Well, I mean, they've met about 7 times. It is a bit ridiculous. I mean, you can't really. How do you meet 7 times in the span of a year in person? That seems like ownership. I mean, that's bad. And I guess, well, they're an ally and stuff. I mean, what ally is the unit? What ally has Trump met even 3 times, let alone 7 since he got into office? You put two and two together. You think it's illegal to be right wing in Germany? Germany has a right wing party. People criticize it because it's like a lesbian lady leading it. I don't know. I think right wing politics is growing in most European countries, including Germany. But you can kind of argue. I mean, look at what happened to the UK. Now the UK is splitting. The Reform UK is splitting with the Restore, I think, Restore UK. And that's a mess. It's unfortunate. And I understand the Reform is like now this boomer party and they're not right wing enough, but it's if they split votes, I mean that's a problem for their upcoming elections. You're more worried about sleeper cells? Oh yeah, those are always a concern when you do a Middle Eastern action. What are your thoughts on Kim Jong Un naming his daughter his hair? Do you think she'll be more harsh? I don't know her tendencies or I don't know how she would lead. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're very. North Korea is just extremely isolated, anyways. I mean, at some point, I think North Korea is going to do something really stupid. I don't know when, but they're just very isolated and they just threaten nukes the entire time. Restore Britain, yeah. What has Israel ever done for the United States? Well, they say it's gather Middle Eastern intelligence basically through Mossad. I mean, obviously, it's not even comparable to what the U.S. has done for Israel, though. Is the UK conservative movement going anywhere? Well, they've split. Their movement is split between two parties. One of them's a further right wing party that potentially, supports remigration. The other one is the main one that's been around for a longer period. Reform. Reform is like, I guess, center right. You'd classify it as center right. Restore UK would be like further right. And like a lot of the new, the trendy, the people on the timeline, they're all going to go to Restore, obviously. But there's still a big coalition that's part of Reform. And so you worry about those two parties splitting votes. And them getting not much right wing powder or power. And then also you've got this Green Party, which is like the super leftist party, and all the young women are voting for that within the UK, and so now it's this big thing. And I mean, there's big right wing movements in the UK. I was looking at Trump's approval rating at some of the European countries, and you might say it's not good, but he's only really -20 in the UK, and all the other countries surrounding the UK, he's like -40. But he's only -20 in the UK. Like the UK has significant right wing movements. They do. They have significant remigration movements. They've had rallies of 2-3 million people for remigration. Voting for Ken Paxton, he backs Trump 2028. We winning? He backs Trump 2028. Really? Doesn't he have some type of cheating scandal or something? But no, hopefully, I mean that's big. You see what's going on with Jasmine Crockett and Tellerico, and how Tellerico said that, oh, they banned my interview with Stephen Colbert, and he just did it to fundraise. They raised like $2.5 million. He said Donald Trump purposefully took my interview with Stephen Colbert off the air because he's scared of me. Meanwhile, he's running in a primary against Crockett, but they all think that Tellerico can win a general in Texas. If Trump doesn't back Israel, then they'll release dirt on it. Well, yeah, I mean that's the blackmail that people talk about. With these Epstein files, you got to wonder with stuff like that with Trump. And that's what I was thinking last year. He's just neutered by Israel, and that's why all these meetings have been happening with Israel and these strikes. Because these strikes overall, I mean, it's just not going to have a ton of support. I mean, you're going to get some Republican support. You're going to get some liberals, normie liberals that don't care as long as it's not prolonged. But I don't think you're gonna win with an issue like this on Iran. I mean, to me, I think the strikes last year were pretty easy to justify because of how limited it was, and you potentially disable their nuclear program. That's a really good return on investment based on how uninvolved they were. Really, it was just like they were involved 2 days. But if it is prolonged like this, people are saying there's this huge armament. It just seems like it would break so many Trump tendencies. I don't really believe it, but if it's going to be prolonged, I mean, then the regime change especially seems more like cucking Israel, because you're trying to take out a major power within the region, and that you could more so justify the strikes against them becoming nuclear, because technically them having nuclear bombs would be a threat to the United States. I don't think they'd ever attempt to use a nuclear bomb against the United States, but you could at least justify it because they could technically send one at the United States. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Dems should win in 2028, but listen, there's going to be a lot of people voting for them. We'll have to see what happens. 2028 is so far away. Everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone's on the internet 24/7. It's all about 2028. We don't really know how things are going to develop to even, with the midterms or anything like that. I know Democrats are getting really overzealous with the midterms, though. If it's prolonged, Republicans will lose the midterms. Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by lose. They lose the House. Yes, I don't know about the Senate. They probably still hang on to, but it becomes prolonged Middle Eastern activity. How would that affect the populace? Yeah, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good because they already have a tough time explaining these actions. A lot of people think it's just for Israel, or again, you can kind of justify action if it's against them trying to get a nuclear bomb, because you say, well, they're an enemy nation. They're allied with the major powers of the East, so why would we want them to have a nuclear bomb? It makes sense. This regime change, though, is more of just weakening Iran overall, just in general, which is seen, I would say, more so as appeasement to Israel. Because, again, you can kind of justify the use of, the B-2s against their nuclear program, because they could technically bomb the U.S. if they develop a nuclear bomb. Yeah, there would definitely be impeachments against Trump for stuff, but that's if they win the House. They would have to win the House to do that. But even if they win the House, as long as they don't have the Senate, or I don't even think it matters if they have the Senate because it's 2/3. It's the impeachment articles they file will be irrelevant, and then it just becomes like people wanting to talk about it and just like boring stuff, almost like with these government shutdowns that happen. It's like, what's even the point of discussing it? It's just boring. Like, it doesn't really affect anything, honestly. It's like half shut down. Iran would become U.S. friendly again, and we would get more oil, just like Venezuela. Yeah, but I would think there would have to be a bigger investment to be able to accomplish something like that than Venezuela. You're just going to go in and take the Ayatollah and kidnap them. It seems like it's be a much more elaborate operation than, look at the location of Venezuela versus Iran. I mean, if they're able to do that, it would be pretty remarkable. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think it's going to be strikes. I mean, I guess there were strikes against Venezuela and also the kidnapping, but what would stop him from doing another Maduro style operation? He doesn't want a legacy like Bush's. Yeah, 100%. That's why I think there's just no way. There's no way he would sign up now for like, oh, I'm gonna do a 6 month operation in the Middle East before the midterms. It doesn't make sense. If anything, they're doing this right now so you can have time in between the end of this or the fallout of whatever happens because of this and the midterms actually happening and like the lead up to the midterms. I think whatever happens with this situation with Iran, it's gonna be on the back burner by the summer. That would be my prediction. Whatever happens with Iran, it just doesn't fit Trump's tendencies to have this crazy involvement with Iran. And I don't know if it's going to be exactly like Maduro. I'm not sure they can really do something like that. They would need another QED or something to be, but I don't even know if the QEDs would work. I mean, I guess they worked against Venezuela, but are they going to work against Iran? And also, the location of Venezuela is a lot easier. So they might try and they're going to try and do something quick, I think. I don't think it's going to be prolonged. Iran will empty their chamber of weapons knowing they will lose power. Very dangerous. Well, it depends what the US is able to do, possibly. They could disable their entire network. Actually, I don't know if they can do that, but there's a lot they can do. Iran has too many mountains. Yeah, for a strike. Or even a capturing would be challenging. Logistically, that would be feel like a nightmare. You would need people on the inside. They said they had people on the inside, like spies in Venezuela. That's why they were able to do it. Yeah, I don't know about that. You keep telling me about people selling food out of their houses. I think that's unsanitary. That shouldn't happen. You got to get the permit. They can't just allow any random. Yeah, but they can't allow any random person to do that. You got to have some type of permit or something, or pass some type of health inspection. Yeah, Michigan's been really good at basketball. That's a huge game though against Duke. That'll be a really good game, Michigan versus Duke. That's a shocking non-conference game that's being played. When was the last time you had Culver's? Last summer, actually. But I've only had it like twice in my life. But I had it like last summer. Culver's, it's good. I mean, it's fine. The U.S. has literally no business in Iran. You wonder why Patton said we fought the wrong enemy. Well, I mean, the business would be disabling their nuclear program. But I generally agree with you. It's not worth, it's. I mean, but Iran is an ally to our enemies. But I agree with you. I mean, you could justify any strike if you're just gonna say, well, they're an enemy. So that's not really a justifiable reason to kick up a war. But remember, they're going to use this as negative press against Trump. They're going to say it's this crazy war. Well, let's see. Let's see what the contents of the war is before we start going crazy with this proclamation. Have you ever the Shamrock Shake? I've had it once. I'm not a big, it's the Shamrock Shake is minty. I'm not a big fan of mint and ice cream. It's something you either love or you hate, mint and ice cream. and I don't like mint and ice cream. It's the coldness with the mint together, but like mint to me is not something that's good. Like eating it, eating something that tastes minty does not. It just doesn't jive well. This war will be known as Epstein's War. And then there's going to be all of that. Absolutely, if something happens, it's a distraction for the Epstein stuff. Yeah, but I don't think that's really an Irish thing. I mean, the shake itself, I guess, is Irish themed, but mint just because it's green. My chest is really sore. I started going to the gym again. My chest is insanely sore. I guess it's good. So I'm starting to go to the gym more. Hopefully, I won't be as sore. Yeah, brain freeze is a real thing. I used to get brain freezes when I was younger, and Nick Shirley video on voter fraud in California. Yeah, I mean it's there's voter fraud everywhere. It's I don't know why. This is the question. This is the question for liberals. Why are you so worried about forcing people to show ID to vote? Aren't we a country? What's the point of ID? Why do we have IDs if we can't even fucking force people to show them to register to vote? It doesn't make any sense. We have to. Some random person says, "Oh, I'm a citizen. Just trust me." No, there's a reason we have IDs. You got to prove it. It's like, oh, I have $100. Just give it to me. Like, this is ridiculous. Well, my Twin Towers, you can see a video of my Twin Tower Lego sets if you want. They're on my second channel. You're lifting with Sulik. I still get recommended Sulik's videos. Dude needs to shave though, bro. Have you seen him? Bro needs to shave. Some guys try and grow out their facial hair, and it's like even I when I was younger, I was trying to grow out my facial hair. I just don't have the fucking genetics to do it properly. It doesn't make sense. You got to go with the chiseled fucking jawline look with limited facial hair. What do you think Vance will win? Like, what will be the selling point? He's not as diverse as Trump. You don't think Hispanics will show out for him? Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's too much speculation for 2028. I think Vance has a significant advantage over whatever Democrat in the Rust Belt, so I think the Rust Belt is going to be his strength, specifically Pennsylvania. With his proximity and kind of his blue collar nature, I think the Rust Belt is going to be what potentially carries him. He may struggle a bit more in Georgia and North Carolina than Trump. I think Arizona will still be a more Republican state. Nevada will be 50-50. Shirley doesn't even know what words mean. Yeah, I see people talking about him being. I mean, it's not a really nice thing to say, but I guess I get it. I think Pam Bondi should be removed if they decide to get rid of someone. Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, one of those two has got to be removed. Also, I mean, Ludnick's got to be removed, man. They gotta get rid of Ludnick with the lying that he's done about Epstein. I mean, that's got to be it. And I know it's a bad look for, and I think they're waiting for the midterms to see what happens, and maybe they'll do it in kind of a, if they lose in the midterms, they'll get rid of someone. But Vivek, yeah, he is an anchor baby. I mean, but it looks like he's gonna win the primary. I haven't seen any polls, but Casey Putsch, it's just so unlikely, dude, because the campaign he's running, so unlikely he's gonna win any primary. Fishback has a better chance in Florida than Casey Putsch. Casey Putsch is kind of a, he's just he's like flicking off the camera in a Lamborghini. It's just such a weird image to run for like office. I mean, I guess you got to do these crazy things to get known on social media, and it's like this new wave now to where these politicians who are further to the right, they're trying to get their numbers up. They're trying to be noticed. And in Ohio, this was always an issue that we had. Once it was announced that Vivek was running, people are like, well, someone has to run against him, and people thought it was going to be Jim Tressel. But I think Jim Tressel was too old. He didn't want to do it. Then it was going to be Dave Yost. Dave Yost is not very good. I guess people would take him over Vivek at this point. But so now it's Putsch. He's come up, and he was like this YouTube car guy, and he's kind of just almost like quasi influencer, I guess. Like he had like 20 different videos of him burning Trump merchandise after Trump struck Iran last year. It's like, dude, come on. We're really doing this? Like you're going to spam post videos of you burning a Trump hat because Trump struck Iran? Are we running for, we're a grown up running for office here. Let's just not do that. But that was before he was running for office. I don't think he's going to be able to beat Ramaswamy. You know, Ramaswamy has the Trump endorsement, but people don't like Vivek here. It's not good. Oh, you met Dave Yost. That's cool. Vivek beach photo. Just strange. Vivek said the new Republican Party is here, and his image got ratioed. Yeah, he's getting crushed on social media. He said he was leaving it because there's too much racism against Indians. He said there's too much racism against Indian people, so he's not going to be on social media anymore. His team is just posting for him. So that's not good for him in terms of his propaganda for Republicans. But that's why Democrats think that Amy Acton, even though she can't even talk right, like this woman, I was looking at Amy Acton's credentials. She has all these credentials. It's crazy. I mean, maybe people just aren't good with oration or something, but it's like you listen to this woman, it's like this is not an impressive person. This woman has all these credentials that are like crazy, and then you listen to her speak, and it's like this is just not an impressive person. I'm sorry. It's very easy to tell, but then she's got all the credentials, so I don't know. Maybe she's book smart, but does Mike Lindell have a chance? No, Mike Lindell has no chance against Klobuchar. It's kind of funny, but people are probably, I mean, a lot of the Republican people are going to be angry. They think it's a troll, and you shouldn't be running candidates like that. And you know, he's, I don't know. There's some reports about him taking campaign money and using it to buy his own books or something. And I think Mike Lindell is a funny guy. I do, and I don't think a Republican was winning Minnesota anyways, but there's a lot of people that get angry about that type of stuff in terms of the candidates that they pick. But Lindell is more of like an influencer when it comes to like politics. Does Ohio have debates before the election? I think all the states have debates, so at least we'll get to see that. We would hope. Certainly, there would be a debate after the primaries are over. The question is, you know, will there be primary debates? And then that's the same thing with Fishback and Donalds. That would be an interesting debate to see. Putsch and Ramaswamy would be an interesting debate. And then obviously, whoever, you know, acting against whoever the Republican primary winner is, that's going to be a debate that happens. But I would imagine there's at least a few primary debates, I would hope. Yeah, I don't know what that is. You're talking about something. You're talking about Corey in the house. I'm not even sure. I appreciate the donation. You want me to read off some slogan or something? Come on. But I appreciate the donation. You can't stop crushing Heineken's. That's good health. There's no good candidates in Oklahoma, you're saying? Yeah, well, it's probably just like honestly like boomer coded stuff, I feel like in Oklahoma or any of those type of states. Trump is so delusional that deportations will hurt him in the midterms, but not starting a war with Iran. He thinks that, yeah, I mean, dude, but I mean, what is the military action? I would want to see what the military action is. I feel like saying he's starting a war with Iran. I don't think that's accurate yet. I don't know what he's gonna do. He seems to like doing quick strikes. Like, what does a war even entail? They're gonna deploy troops to Iran. I just can't imagine that. I mean, if they strike Iran, what is Iran's options only to strike like a military base in a U.S. military base in the Middle East? That's pretty much all they can do. You and MAGA influencers need to stop with the cope of if Trump fires someone, it's because they are terrible at their job and a bad look for the administration. Well, I mean, I think if he fires someone, it is a bad look for the administration. It's a bad look for the administration anytime you fire someone because you're admitting you made a bad you picked the wrong person. But I mean, at a certain point, there's really no cope. If the lady's doing a bad job, she should be fired. Iran is out of missiles from fight with Israel. They were definitely running low on whatever they. I remember it being reported they were running low on whatever they had last year. Poly market for Iran strike from February is only 28%. It's the 18th right now. Yeah, it's probably, well, I mean, you would think it would happen relatively soon. I mean, I guess maybe the March it could happen. I guess hypothetically they could still negotiate something, but I don't even know what the negotiation would be. They want a regime change. How is that even? That's not going to be negotiated unless they change their demands. If anything, Trump will strike critical military and political targets and let the Iranian people take over through. Yeah, and that's kind of where it becomes hazy. Like, what happens after that? So, if he does decide to strike strategic areas that he thinks going to, weaken the regime to the point of collapse, then what happens after that? I guess the Iranian resistance takes over. Wanted me to sing lyrics to Corey. Really? I don't even know what that is. His catchphrase was "You're fired." Dude, what if he just says that to Pam Bondi at a meeting? He says, "You know what? And I used to say this all the time. This line made me famous. Pam, you're fired." And she would rage, dude. She would be pissed off. He said, "You know what? I'm finally bringing it back out. It's come full circle. You're fired." She would lose her mind if he actually did that. Goyim in abundance. Goyim gathering session. Yeah, Trump's approval rating will probably go down with any strike. Well, with the younger people, maybe. I don't know. The approval rating, I think, is kind of stagnant. I don't. It's like at 45%. It's like 41%, honestly, if I had to guess. You heard I was collaborating with Clavicular. I don't want to get mugged. You think Trump seems naive? He think he's in the clear now from lawfare? Yeah, he is in the clear because he can pardon himself. he can just pardon himself. I mean, that's so I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens with this Iran situation. It's what's your honest take on Nick Fuentes? Well, I think he's obviously clearly separate of Republican causes. I think he wants to honestly be a leader. I don't know if that's president or whatever that is. And he wants a further right wing United States. And for him, it's probably better, for honestly, for all of us, it's better to be on the attack. So when the liberal is in, it's easier to attack them than for defend Trump. But I think he wants a really far right wing country. He thinks the way to get that is through liberal mismanagement or really left policies, I guess. But it's really not Republican, based on where the party is. The other thing is, Trump's been the Republican Party for 10 years. So it's almost like now he can say, well, Trump has morphed into the establishment because he's been the party for 10 years. When he took over, it was different. Now it's been a decade. Thoughts on young men buying used or new cars? Well, I think either one is problematic. Buying used cars is always a pain in the ass. You don't know what's wrong with them. They're already depreciated like crazy. But you buy a new car, you're gonna have a monthly cost. I don't recommend buying a new car, especially if you don't have money, obviously. But not many young men are gonna be able to buy new cars without having a crazy monthly cost. I mean, I guess maybe if it's a lower price. Trump mobile phone. I don't think those have shipped yet. I think those got hung up. We're gonna have to ask Eric Trump about that. American Bitcoin, you know that? American Bitcoin, the Bitcoin mining center in Texas. Homo fascism. Yeah, I don't know about that. Was that just gay people that are fascist? I'm not sure about that. Alex makes 110K. Remember? Yeah. Well, if you make 110K, you could probably afford it. You really need the leg lengthening surgery. I'm messing with you. I'm only like 5'9", so I'm not. I'm right there with you almost. Do a conservative influencer tier list. That would just be a slop, probably. Yeah, there's a lot of conservative influencers, man. Honestly, if I sat, I could get like 40 conservative influencers that I could have an opinion on. I could get 40 of them, depending on what you think of conservative. Because some of them are like fringe conservative influencers. I agree. I think driving will be banned in 15 to 20 years. There's no question. It's obvious. You can already see it. They'll say you're not going to drive yourself. It's selfishness. You might cause an accident. We know this is coming. You think Patriot Front is a serious movement? I think the way that it's dressed up, I don't think they're ever going to get any type of political power. I mean, I've heard some of their stuff, and I get it, but the way the movement looks, that's not how a further right wing movement rises. I don't believe you can't be that overt about it. And people say, "Well, you're a pussy for saying that." I'm just saying, in terms of the United States, I don't even know what they're trying to promote. They've got like 50 guys, like maybe they're a little bit bigger than that, but it just you're fighting an uphill battle. Yeah, the shooter from Rhode Island, that was a weird story. It's a trans dude, but he was supporting Fuentes, and that dude was all over the place. 110K is not enough for a lot of these new cars lately. Also, you got to factor in You got expensive rent to pay in Atlanta and other bills. I thought you said you moved out of Atlanta. But I mean, if you get out of Atlanta, dude, Atlanta's not the place. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is if you want to meet people, but I would say Atlanta at this point. I would leave Atlanta. Let's just say that, bro. How was your taxes this year? You believe you're receiving $9,000 with your taxes? Yeah, I have people do my taxes for me, so we'll have to see what ends up happening in April. But yeah, thankfully, I mean, I pay money for it. It costs a decent amount, but I don't have to do the headache at least of doing my taxes. That would be a cluster to do your own taxes. You want to move out of Atlanta, bro? If you're in Atlanta, that's you're paying for the access to the city. That's the reason people live in Atlanta. I mean, depends what your job is. Is your job remote? I moved to Seattle. Seattle's another liberal. Seattle's a liberal mess. I mean, there's nice parts of Seattle for sure. It's a beautiful state, but yeah, it's mismanaged. Yeah, doing your own, especially the way my taxes work, they're a bit elaborate. So Atlanta is gross. Well, look at the movement into Atlanta. It's yeah, I would avoid Atlanta for sure. You think we go to a war with Iran? I don't think it'll be a war. I think there'll be a military action against Iran, but it's not going to be a war. You think Bannon is a liability? Bannon obviously has. Bannon, I think, is probably going to run. Well, I don't know the recent stuff, but it kind of sets up like Bannon runs as the Groyper candidate. That's what it's kind of setting up like. I don't know, dude. Bannon, there was all that shit with Bannon with Epstein in the files, and we'll see how that develops. But Bannon is kind of set up to be this Groyper candidate for 2028. He's got no chance of winning, but it would be more of a disruption. That's it. It'll be a special military operation. Not even. I mean, the special military operation was obviously an invasion, right? This I don't because obviously Russia is in a war with Ukraine. I mean, they can call it whatever they want, but this legitimately is like I don't think I would say it's a war with Iran unless there's strikes back and forth and it's a prolonged period. What do you think about Fuentes glazing Epstein? I think he likes being the contrarian. It's shock value. Best place to live in the U.S. really depends on the individual. Really depends on the individual. If you care about weather, if you care about nightlife, if you care about proximity to things, depends on all of that stuff. I mean, overall, North Carolina has pretty good weather. But if you really like nice weather, obviously, Florida. But I wouldn't live in Florida. I want all four seasons. What happens if Trump reenacts the draft? He's not going to reenact the draft, especially for something like this. That would never happen. You bet on Polymarket? No, I don't. I don't bet on any of that type of stuff. The only thing that would be betting or whatever for me is I invest in crypto. I don't do any betting like that. Yeah, as you get older, beards are one of those things to where you can actually and grow a stronger beard. You get older. Idaho. I heard there's a lot of liberals that live in Boise now in Idaho, but Idaho definitely is an up and coming area. Well, I guess it's a state, but like the Boise area, the suburbs, I know it's pretty up and coming. You think there's gonna be a massive strike early Saturday morning? Well, based off of the timing on when they normally do these things, the strike would likely happen, I guess, Iranian time Saturday morning, but that would be Friday night for us. Normally, pretty much all the military action against Iran, because they want to do it right at like 2 or 3 a.m. It happens at like 8 o'clock my time, like right on prime time. That's why when there was a bunch of military action, I was live streaming right when it was happening, because it was just like based on the times difference, that's when it took place. Finding a conservative Caucasian girl in Atlanta is like finding a liberal with a father. Yeah, a conservative white girl in Atlanta is probably impossible. I mean, we'll take apolitical at this point, 100%. We'll take apolitical with women. This is apolitical, no tattoos. It's good enough. Fuck this. I don't think you'd have to stay up all night on Friday. I think the strikes would happen in U.S. time, like at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I mean, Venezuela obviously is located closer to our time zone. That's why it was at like 3 a.m. or whenever it happened. Nah, I'm not growing my beard out. It's not gonna look good anyways. I mean, and I just really shaved it down to basically nothing today. It was actually out to its largest point it had been for a while, and it wasn't even that lengthy. You said you're a virgin and you're broke. I mean, you're just giving me I appreciate the donation. You're just giving me troll donations. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know about the LA mayoral race. The left is doubling and tripling down on wokeness that's been rejected. Yeah, I mean, I think they think Trump is becoming more unlikable so they can be more woke now. They're trying to bring woke back, they keep saying. I don't even know what that means, honestly. I guess they're trying to police speech again, but with Musk in control of X, it's going to be hard for them to do that. Yeah, but I don't care that much about my beard to try and like grow it like that. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm fine with having basically clean shaven look. I mean, I do actually for a while I thought I looked better with slight facial hair because I don't know, I just thought it looked better, but then I just like 6 months ago I started to basically trim it down to nothing. Who gives Bannon the right to fuck up UK elections? Yeah, I don't know what he's doing with the UK. Don't say for retirement because it'll be relevant in 19 years when there's UBI. Yeah, I think it's a bit ridiculous when he says that. He said that several times about UBI. It's a bit ridiculous. I mean, I think he wants to play God. He says these crazy things about the future, and it's just like, come on. I mean, I don't know how it's going to develop in terms of these robots possibly taking every job, but that seems just more like a form of socialism or something. I mean, it seems almost more dystopian. You seen the conservative wife getting caught on X cheating? Sarah Stock. Yeah, that's a really bad situation. I saw that. She actually just straight up left social media, Sarah Stock. She just left for good. Well, I don't know, maybe she'll come back. They say they always come back, right? But yeah, I mean, you're talking about, white conservative values, and then you do that with Elijah Schaefer, who's also this personality. She was working under him. It's just bragging about getting the engagement ring on X, and it's like a movie. I mean, he floods the UK internet zone with pro. Yeah, but I don't think Bannon really can turn stuff like that in the UK. He doesn't have that power in the UK. There's a lot of people that probably have pro Farage stuff. That doesn't mean that people. I mean, their parties are already split on the right. Unfortunately, if they're really doing this restore versus reform, and it's probably going to hurt them. But people don't think that reform is far right enough. Where's the money income going to come with UBI? What to give out to people? It's probably just going to come through the robots doing all the work. I don't know. Uh, $35 worth of super chats will get me off of food stamps. Have we had $35 worth? I think we probably had like $50 worth if I had to estimate. Then YouTube takes a bunch of it. Most people say the Super Bowl was boring. You thought it was great. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was boring. The Super Bowl was pretty boring. I didn't really watch much of it. I feel like it's pretty much already been forgotten about the Super Bowl. Quantum computers. Yeah, that's the big thing with quantum computers, but they're not gonna destroy Bitcoin. There's a little bit of a worry about inactive wallets possibly being susceptible to quantum computers, but the Bitcoin network's going to be upgraded to avoid quantum computers. Even within the next 10 or 15 years, quantum computers won't be able to achieve technology to the point to where they could get private keys unlocked. There's just simply too many formulas. Do you like the new format for the NBA All Star Game going for? Well, I didn't watch it. I'm not big into the NBA anymore. I know a lot of people said they liked it. People said that's probably the only way to do it if they're going to have any type of competitiveness because the players just don't try. I always liked East versus West. I thought that was traditional and that's how it's done. They stopped trying. They didn't care about it. So and that's just a big problem in general with the NBA. I don't think Bannon has that much pull to influence all the UK newspapers, bro. There's no way. Have you gotten solid sleep lately? I was so tired yesterday. I don't know why. Yeah, no, I've gotten pretty good sleep. Outside of maybe 1 or 2 nights, I was up till 3. Yeah, the thing is with like conservative influencers, that's really not traditionalism. If you're gonna be an influencer, a female influencer, that's not what a traditional woman is. I mean, I understand it. I guess you're trying to promote propaganda that's pro traditional family and stuff, but it's kind of a ironic thing to be a because you're basically a breadwinner if you're an influencer. I don't drink any sodas. I don't drink any caffeine at night. That's not the reason why I'd be up late. If Myron invites you on the show, will you accept? Who Myron Gaines? Yeah, yeah, sure, I'll accept it. Would you say you agree with Fuentes overall? I don't know some of his viewpoints. I mean, on some things, I'm sure. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think accelerationism is. I understand it's a noble thought if you want someone really far right, but for the country in general, you're trying to fix this demographic thing. I don't know if that's really feasible. That doesn't seem very feasible to me. But I guess it would require an ultra left government. But then how do you swing it back is the question. Because if it's an ultra left government, they're going to flood the zone with a bunch more immigrants. I mean, at some point, you think this liberal idea of what their party is, it's unsustainable just to have all these immigrants. Like they rely on immigrants for their party. Trump just needs to be president forever and deport all the immigrants, legal or illegal. Yeah, but how do you achieve that? How do you achieve being president forever? You would have to do some type of crazy forcible action executively and just. I mean, the thing is when you think about the immigration, it is interesting. They talk about they constantly cite the Constitution because it basically it guardrails people from actually achieving significant change. And I think the Constitution in general is a good thing. But the problem is they talk about democracy. Nobody voted for a demographic change at this level. That was never voted for. So how does democracy really work if our entire population changes and our culture changes, but we didn't vote for it? That seems like it's a bit fucking crazy. Now we have to abide by this democracy. Did you see Rubio's speech in Europe? He needs to be the GOP presidential nominee in 2028, not Vance. Yeah, no, I saw it, and I see there's a lot of hype for him. I think people say he's very presidential, and he's gotten further right wing as he's gotten older. Yeah, I mean, Rubio may sense that it's his time, and he may decide to run against Vance, and there might be some fractures there if that happens. I think Vance really wants it. He thinks it's his time. Obviously, Vance is going to go for it because he's the VP. Vance probably wrote the speech. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, right now, obviously, the politically Rubio is politically savvy enough to not say anything. If you say, "Oh, I'm actually going to run," you're going to create a rift within the administration. It's 3 years away. You don't want to say anything like that. But if we get a year from now you're probably going to start hearing hints if Rubio decides to run that he's actually going to do it. Vance too young. Yeah, I mean that is a thing that if voters really look at the difference in terms of experience between Vance and Rubio, Vance would have to be concerned about that. That becomes a concern for Vance if you do look at one versus another, and if Trump decides to take the route, because now it's looking like, and I don't know if this will happen, Trump might say, "I like both Vance and Rubio. I'm not going to pick. It could be either of them. I'm not going to endorse someone." I mean, I think Trump does want to be a kingmaker, so maybe he'll endorse one of them and then they'll win. But you were surprised to see the standing ovation. Yeah, if it was Trump, I don't think he'd get something like that. It depends the audience, though. I mean, there's right wing people in Europe. MLB's getting a lockout. They can't agree on they can't agree on really anything. What they need is a salary cap. The best countries in the world aren't really democracies. That's subjective. I mean, whether a country's good or not depends a lot on its. The best overall countries for life quality are Scandinavian countries. I mean, if you're talking about safety, yeah, the UAE is extremely safe. Do you think Trump will stay behind and run the country? I don't know if Trump. I mean, I think Trump will have input, but Trump doesn't really seem like it seems like he wants to play golf and do all this other stuff. I think he'll have input. If you know, let's say Rubio or Vance wins, he'll have input, but I don't think it'll be this crazy shadow government. I don't really think Trump, because Trump would be up in the mid 80s by that point, or at least what 82, 83. Nothing will happen before mid March. Well, I mean, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Full thoughts on George Bush? Which one? Well, George Bush W. I mean, it's military industrial complex. His legacy is fucked. George W. Especially with young people. Just the action, and it's funny because if you go back to 2001, 2002, it was all justified. It was completely justified. He had probably the highest approval rating any president's ever had. But obviously, you know, and he gets blamed, and Republicans in general get blamed for that financial crisis. But that was really caused under Clinton. That's when that entire thing started. The banks got really aggressive with loans under Clinton because they got the deficit down to zero, and then they blamed Bush on it. I mean, I guess Bush ignored it, but you know, Bush is his legacy because of those two things: the Iraq War and the financial crisis. Bush, I think most people, there's a lot of Republicans that think Bush is like the worst president of the last seven U.S. presidents. Do you think the demographic shift is reversible? Maybe 2 million whites from South Africa? Yeah, I don't think you're going to get 2 million whites from South Africa. I don't know what their numbers are exactly, or if they. I don't know if that's going to happen. And then the deportations. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would like to look at something like that and say that Trump is starting to correct it, and you're starting to see the difference. The white population is going back up. I don't know if that's really sustainable, if that's going to continue. I mean, hopefully. I know they're a lot more conservative with giving out visas. You know, they used to give out a lot more visas. Trump has really stopped a lot of that, I believe. But it's like these temporary visas, it's pathway to citizenship, it's all of it. It's like just the act of accepting immigration at this point. You know, if you want to switch any of this, it's got to be halted. South Africans don't want to live here. Right, right. I mean, you look at maybe Ukrainians, but other than that, I mean, you take Scandinavians, they don't want to live here. But I mean, Scandinavians in general, the way that they're very weak. Those people, and you know, obviously they're good people, but the way the government controls them is really disturbing. And yet, Obama continued to enhance most of George Bush's policies. Yeah, no, it is insane, especially the border. He continued the exact same policies, and that's why Obama gets all that credit. It was literally the policies that were set by W. Bush. Everything in regards to border and deportations were set by George W. Bush, and he continued the exact same policy. And Obama gets the credit, of course, for the turnaround of the stock market, because you come into office right after the collapse. It's easy to turn it around. It's just like Biden getting credit for coming in with COVID. And then they say Republicans are terrible with the economy because these are. I mean, you could blame that crash on Clinton, not even W. Bush, based on what was happening in the '90s with all the loans that the banks were giving out. They said eventually the chickens will come home to roost, but people don't know how economics works. They say, well, it's Bush's fault because it happened under him, and then Obama gets all the cleanup while pretty much orchestrating the same policies. And then it's the same thing with Trump and Biden. COVID happens, the economy gets shut down. They wanted to destroy the U.S. economy. Liberals did. They said that the entire government needs to be shut down. Do you know that what that would do to the stock market? They wanted the government to be shut down for months, federally. And of course, Trump says we're opening it up after a month or whatever it was. But then, you know, it starts to recover, and then Biden gets in, and then they start printing and printing and printing, and they say, well, Biden is better with the economy than Trump because the stock market has gone up significantly more, and it actually went down under Trump because of COVID, of course. Yeah, the Irish. Well, the Irish have a little brother complex. The Irish do, and I say that, but a lot of the native Irish, they don't like people like me, and it's sad. And I wish it wasn't like that. I really wish it was different. The American Irish are really polarizing to the natives that live in Ireland, but those are very leftist people. They love Palestine. They see themselves as the little brother. They see themselves as suppressed, and certainly they got starved out by the famine, and it was really bad what the British government did to them. But they have this animosity against American Irish, and it's disappointing. Call of the Dead Easter egg. That's an easy Easter egg to do. Call of the Dead. Democrats using COVID to cheat in the election. Well, obviously there were an insane amount of mail-in ballots. I mean, they overloaded the system. The system wasn't designed for that many mail-in ballots. You can't act like it was. But now, this Epstein stuff is such a mess. They look, people comb through it. They don't know what's true, what's false, and so people espouse these crazy things. It's when is the new Spider-Man movie coming out? I did see that kick scream that kick streamer get slapped. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the situation. There should be a new Spider-Man movie. I think there hasn't been one for like 3 years. The Social Network too. That doesn't look that good. I would like to watch that though. July 31st. Damn, so late summer. I'm not. I don't think I'm part Italian. Plenty of South Africans want to come over here. They can't get jobs and send their kids to college because it's now reserved for blacks. I don't know. I mean, when they accepted the migrant, I mean, we'd have to see the numbers honestly, because I don't know. They accepted like 70 of them. No, late 1942, Germany had already lost. If you understand the dynamics of World War II, Germany had a small window that closed really when the United States officially entered the war. Do you follow Bronze Age pervert? I don't think I do follow him now. I mean, I hear he's in the sphere, the Republican space. Why do people hate Iraq war but not Afghanistan? They do hate. They hate both of them. Iraq is just more known, coming right after 9/11. They hate both. Afghanistan was so prolonged, and everybody wanted to get out of Afghanistan. Trump wanted to get out. The way in which they got out was the bad part. I don't know about the Nick Shirley California stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's fraud happening there. Listen, it's obvious that they don't want the voter ID. They can just say it. It's like having a gun pulling the trigger and nothing comes out. You know what's happening here. There's obvious fraud with these liberals. There's a reason they don't want actual voter. This is typical first world voter ID when you register to vote. Liberals have overtaken Ireland. The country used to be Catholic. Well, it still is Catholic, but yeah, it's very liberal. It's really leftist at this point, Ireland. But you know what? I've heard they have very far right wing movements that actually have steam. I didn't know that. Somebody was telling me that there's a decent amount in Ireland that are pretty far right. Yeah, I know they had U-boats that U-boat campaigns against American ships coming over before the U.S. joined the war. But by 1942, I mean if you're talking late 1942, you'd be talking post or during Stalingrad. They needed to conquer Russia significantly earlier. Yeah, they say excuses. They don't have a birth certificate, or they like the passport is. They're deathly afraid of passports. Apparently, it's insane. They're like, we can't get a passport. Passports are like persona non grata. They can't. It's like crazy. That's like a horror movie is the passport. Catholics became woke about 10 years ago. Yeah, it's seeped into religion now. It's not good. 400,000 white South Africans have shown interest, but things are getting worse and worse over there. More will come. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe we start just accepting them for immigration. You used to follow some right wing Irish channels on YouTube. I never heard of any of those channels. I thought you said Jack Doherty there. The Royal Navy was extremely strong. I find that hard to believe. That was the strength of the British Empire was their navy. Yeah, Miami of Ohio. Dude, Miami of Ohio has got it's not gonna happen for them. But they may make the tournament. I hope they go undefeated. I think it'd be just mating with South Africans mixing. I mean if they're white, I wouldn't see it as that. Just got here. What's going on? Are we going to war? No, I don't think it'll be war. It'll be a targeted military operation against Iran. That's going to be swift. Do you think Afghanistan and Iraq was this generation's Vietnam? Yeah, sure. But then what about this? What about our generation? I mean, that would be more. Dude, I don't even know the Gen X or whatever. They're Vietnam. Gen Z's Vietnam will be Iran. No, I'm kidding. I don't think the Bears are going to Iowa. That seems unserious. Do you think the paint? Do you think Germany would have won against Britain if the superpowers didn't join? Well, it's a two front war. So it's a challenge no matter which way. I think they definitely would have beaten. Well, even with the Soviet Union, it becomes a problem of overextension and the winter and things like that. But they were definitely more efficient than the Soviet Union. I think it was for every German soldier that was killed, it was 7 USSR soldiers. They were definitely significantly more efficient than the Russians. But Russia's a big country, and you get to the point to where it's winter, and they had massively overextended supply lines. I mean, they had hundreds and hundreds of miles of land in days, so it became almost too much for them at the start of Barbarossa. Have you ever studied nuclear weapons and the devastating consequences? No, I've never done an in-depth video on nuclear weapons. Is Farage controlled opposition is low? Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, I don't know if either it would be Farage probably. Low seems to be far more right wing than Farage, and looks like there's a split, unfortunately, and that's the last thing that the UK needs. But I don't really know UK politics like that to know if they could potentially they could still be the majority if they're both two highest vote getters in the next election. Hottest person in the administration? Not Noam. Caroline Levitt, I guess. Split doesn't matter as much for their style of politics. Yeah, but it's still right. They don't have that much right wing capital. You're gonna be splitting your right wing vote. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe there's more moderates for reform, and the right wing people go for a restore. But why are white? Why are Europeans? Why do they want to go extinct? Well, I mean, obviously they'll say they don't want to go extinct, but it's because mainly of suicidal empathy, and also historically Europeans have had amazing societies, and so I think there's inherent guilt with a lot of these people that has been built into them. So if there's inherent guilt, they want to be able to open up their country to other people. Lindell TV lady is that? Yeah, that is true. The reporter. They also think they can uplift people from Africa, Middle East, Asia. Yeah, it's it's just the typical of, well, they're in worse situation, they're trying to get a better life, and so they should come here. Then the problem is they just end up making the country and the people that are already here, their lives worse. So it's this cycle, this never ending cycle. And it's like how much immigration can you absorb before the life quality starts getting worse to where people actually realize the real consequences. And I think the UK is being proactive about it, honestly, when you look at their demographics still. And I think they're trying to get under control because it does seem like they do have right wing support in the UK. The other liberal countries, I just don't see the right wing. I mean, I guess you go to the east with Poland, but the, I don't see the same vigor as I see with the UK. The UK to me is more comparable to the US, you know, than those other European countries. I mean, I guess it makes sense. That's where we came from. If immigrants are such a benefit to our country, then why couldn't they improve? Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they'll say, well, one single person can't do it. Improve a country that's completely destroyed. But it's like, man, especially with the AI stuff, it's what is the justification for bringing these people over? National Redhead Day, November 5th. I didn't even know. That's not even close to this. That's the end of the year. If you were gonna bring that up, it would be like tomorrow or something. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this live stream. I appreciate everyone for tuning in, and maybe the next live stream it'll be some type of action in Iran. We'll have to see, but I will see you guys later. Please like the video, leave a like down below. Yep. Peace.